Paul Ryan fell apart again on Fox News Sunday. And when he was pressed, he refused to say that he would guarantee Obamacare subsidies would stick around for people who might lose them. So Chris Wallace asked if Republicans would come up with a way to keep the Affordable Care Act subsidies going, because as you may know, Paul Ryan still wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. So now it's a very legitimate question. We have millions of people receiving subsidies for the Affordable Care Act through the Affordable Care Act, which allow them to afford health insurance. If you repeal the Affordable Care Act, will you guarantee that people will maintain the subsidies in some other way? And Paul Ryan listed a series of lies about Obamacare and refused to say, obviously, that those individuals would be able to keep the subsidies. Let's look at the video.
Question. If the court does rule against Obamacare, against these subsidies, says that they're illegal through the federal exchanges, will Republicans come up with a way, Republicans in Congress, to make sure that those 6 to 7 million people who depend on these subsidies in those 34 states are not left high and dry?
We will have an answer. We will have a solution. We don't want people to fall victim because of this bad law. And we want to give people freedom from Obamacare. We want to give people a bridge from Obamacare. So not only do we want to make sure that families don't suffer because of the failures of this law, we also want to give states the freedom to go their own direction and make it better. This law is failing. It's collapsing. Even if the court ruled for Obamacare, you still have a disaster on our hands. Double-digit premium increases. People are not getting what they want. So we want to give people more freedom. They'll be able to buy what they want to buy, which is what Obama said you could do, and gives states more control.
But I want to. You're saying you guarantee the Republicans will come.
We will have a solution. Yes.
That will make sure that these 6 to 7 million people will be able to keep their subsidies.
We will have a solution that addresses this law, that gives people a bridge from Obamacare, and that addresses the people who are getting caught in the crossfire, that are getting caught in this ruling.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about.
We will have a solution that addresses people who are being caught in this solution. I won't go into all of the details because, quite frankly, Chris, we want to see the nature of the ruling. There are.
No, I understand that. But here's the question.
Here.
Here's the question, Congressman.
The answer is yes. We'll have a solution for the people who are caught up in this law, so that they're not left in the lurch.
But here's the question: will you demand an end to the mandates, the employer mandates, the individual mandates, which Secretary Burwell said in effect would amount to repealing Obamacare, and that the president would veto?
Well, I'm not going to get into all of that right now because we want to see what the ruling is, but we want to give people freedom from Obamacare.
They wouldn't be victims of a bad law the way that Paul Ryan is saying. They'd be victims of Paul Ryan repealing the law.
For how many years now have Republicans been saying that they need to get rid of Obamacare, that they have a plan? When pressed, none of them have ever had a plan. I have not heard one actual plan with any details about what they plan to do after repealing Obamacare.
If the Supreme Court gives conservatives the ruling that they want, then Republicans are actually in trouble, as Lewis is suggesting, because number one, the overwhelming more of the subsidies are in red states than in blue states. And number two, they don't have a plan. And that will be made very evident if the Supreme Court rules the way the right claims to want. There's something in Rand Paul's eyes and something about the way he talks.
You mean Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan.
What did I say?
You said Rand Paul.
I'm sorry. In Paul Ryan. In Paul Ryan's eyes, that just lets you know he's full of it immediately, isn't there?
Yeah, he just strikes me as really dishonest. Well, we know he's really dishonest, and this interview is a perfect example of that. He's full of it. We can't say the word, but whatever it is, he's full of it.
Yeah, well, we're dealing with people's lives here, and it's just pro-corporate politics for these clowns. It's just fear-mongering and political posturing, and we're talking about people's health insurance. We're talking about people's lives, and I'm reminded of when Paul Ryan debated Joe Biden back in the 2012 presidential election, just an absolutely epic debate, where Paul Ryan just lied through the entire thing, ignorant or at least uncaring about the realities of what would happen to people if the policies he was pushing were made into law. Joe Biden laughed a couple of times during the debate, and Joe Biden was criticized, even though Paul Ryan lied through the entire thing. Obvious lies that would really impact people.
And it's sad, but I think much of what he said and what he said right here in this interview it's still talking points that a lot of people like hearing.
I know.
And a
I
lot-
hate that some of these talking points still resonate with people. It is really scary.
Yeah, well, what can you do? I think we can all be glad that he's not running for president, at least not yet.
Yeah, at least not yet.